Hey everybody, welcome to day 10 of our 21-day yoga challenge. Today you will need a yoga block. We're going to work today on learning more body awareness. So grab that block. If you don't have a block, you can use a rolled up towel or something like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Just go ahead and set the block down next to your mat to begin and close the eyes. Take a moment here in this simple seated pose to settle in for your practice. To settle into the breath. Lengthening the inhalation and the exhalation. And as we sit tall together, bring to your mind a single word. A single word that you will dedicate your practice to today. Continuing with the mindful breathing. Keep your word right in the forefront of your mind. Taking this with you into your practice, into the rest of your day. Palms together at your heart. Reaffirming this single word, this word that you're committing your practice to today. Reaffirming that word now. Opening your eyes up into the room. So grab your block. We're going to place the block in between the thighs on the long end. So when you place the block, the thighs will be on either end here. Squeeze the block a lot as you come into table pose. So you're finding this body awareness here in the legs. From here, tuck the toes and press back into downward facing dog. Continue to squeeze the block a lot throughout the remainder of this practice. As you squeeze the block, notice the internal rotation of the thighs. So the inner thighs moving back towards the back of your mat. And coming forward into plank pose. Squeeze the block a lot and drop down chaturanga. Rise into upward facing dog. Notice how the block changes how you hold your hips. Body awareness. Settle back into downward facing dog. Sink in. Let the ears rest between the biceps. Draw the navel back towards the spine. And squeeze the block. And coming forward again. Plank pose, drop down, chaturanga, upward facing dog, squeeze the block, downward facing dog. Walk the hands back to the feet. So you come into a forward fold at the back of the mat, let the head hang, squeeze the block a lot. So you feel the muscles hug to the bone. You feel the thigh move up towards the hip, the thigh muscle, the quad move up towards the hip. Breathing, squeezing the block, come back into plank pose, top of a push-up, drop down, chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. And now soften the knees a little bit so you have some buoyancy here in your step, and try not to drop the block. If you do, it's cool. So hop to the top of your mat. As you arrive, fold forward, hands to hips, inhale, partway up, squeeze the block a lot, and come all the way back down on an exhale. Palms together at your heart. Rise up, gaze up towards the ceiling, open the arms out by your side, squeeze the block a lot. Palms come together at the heart and bow. Fold forward. Hands come down to the mat. Now, if your hands don't quite make it to the mat, soften your knees a little bit. Soften your knees anyway and squeeze the block. Now, step or jump, you're going to have to jump, back to plank. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Roll forward into plank. We're going to come into side plank on the left side. So squeeze the block a lot. The feet will be separated. Come to the left side. Right fingertips reach up for the ceiling. Squeeze the block a lot. Notice the engagement of the core body. Squeeze the block. Take the gaze down to the floor if you wish, or straight out in front of you. I'm going to come through the opposite side, but first, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Putting the work in. Downward facing dog. Lengthen, strengthen. Squeeze the block. And roll forward. This time side plank, right side. Pivot over to the right side. Left fingertips reach up for the ceiling. Squeeze the block a lot. And breathe. And back down. Plank pose. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. Walk the hands back to the feet. Forward folding at the back of the mat. Squeeze the block a lot. And now soften the knees and come into chair pose. Continue to squeeze the block a lot. Draw the navel back towards the spine. Reach the fingertips forward, out from the shoulders. Sit down a little deeper. And now fold. Feel the muscles heating up in the legs, maybe trembling a little bit. This is good. Waking up the body, finding some awareness in the body. And walking forward into plank. Release the block and place it down, right down from the tip of the nose down on the floor. I'm going to come into some hovering chaturangas here. So place the block. If you need to move it, go ahead and do that. All the way down. I'm going to move my block forward a little bit. So my face comes directly down towards the block. Hovering above the block. Lift the butt. Now drop the hip points and upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Forward again. Hover. Press up into upward facing dog. Drop the knees. Child's pose. Come all the way back. Soften. Couple more breaths here. So we come into this child's pose in order for our bodies to digest what we've just done. So the movement, all of this, it's important to let it settle into the muscles. Reach the fingertips forward. Lift the butt, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Roll forward, plank, hovering chaturanga. Stay here. Draw the navel back towards the spine. I see you. Keep holding. And press into upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. Extend the left leg back behind you. Bring that left foot forward. Just move the block. Outer edge of the back foot hits the mat. Rising up for warrior two. Turn the palms towards the sky. Lift up a little bit and reach forward like you're handing a friend a gift and drop down into triangle pose. Reaching the arm up towards the sky and the lower arm down towards the floor. Feeling this crazy good expansion in the body. Hands come down to the floor. Pivot the back foot. High lunge. Round the back. Hop to switch. Outer edge of the back foot to the mat. Warrior two. Reaching forward and back. Turn the palms to face the sky. Come up and out of that front leg. Reach forward, 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 and drop down. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Gaze up towards the ceiling. Bring that word back into your mind as you drop the hands down to the floor. High lunge, this time step back to plank pose. And we're going to drop down for another hovering chaturanga without the block. Hover here. Lift the butt if you wish. That word that you dedicated your practice to today. And pressing you up into upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. And step both feet forward and sit down here. Soles of the feet come to the floor. Inhale, arms come up and back behind you. Fingertips point towards the butt. And we're going to lift here. Lift the butt. Step the feet out a little bit so you feel like you have this solid foundation. Squeeze the back of the heart. Now imagine the block in between the thighs. Squeeze the block. And now drop the butt back down to the floor. Boat pose. Keep the legs separated just about as much as the block would be and squeeze the block. The imaginary block there. Feet drop. Hands move up towards the sky. Roll back. Squeeze that imaginary block and lift the butt. Squeeze the back of the heart also. And drop the butt. Boat pose, Navasana. Squeeze the imaginary block. Activate the feet so the toes point back towards the shins. Feel this whole body activation. Soles of the feet come down to the floor. Reach the fingertips up towards the sky. Drop them down. Last time. Reverse table pose. And last, boat pose. Squeeze that imaginary block. Breathe, 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 breathe. And now extend the legs. This time fingertips move up towards the sky and fold. Surrender into this forward fold. So let the back round a little bit. And reaching the fingertips forward and up to the sky. Grab your block. A towel will not work in this case. Not the way that we're doing this. I'll try to talk you through that as well. So you're going to come all the way back onto your backs. Lift the butt and place the block at your sacrum, that bony part there just above the meaty part of your butt. Roll the shoulder blades towards one another in the back body. Soles of the feet resting on the mat. So the block, as you can see here, is holding me up. So surrender into the block. So you'll find here that this is a nice opener. This is called supported bridge. It's a nice opener for the hips and a great way to teach your body to surrender. So trusting the block. closing the eyes and settle in and turn that gaze inward so that you can see and feel more clearly into the body. Eyes closed. Notice if you're muscularly holding on anywhere in the body, and if you are, let that go. Even if it's just a little bit, let that go. Stay where you are if you have the block. If you have a towel, you can roll the towel up into a cylinder and lay on that towel. You're not going to be up as high, but lay it long ways on the mat. So you can settle in onto the towel and still have a supported back bend. And now come to the tips of the toes, remove the block, just place it next to you, you won't need it again. Resist the urge to hug the knees into the chest here to begin. But more, drop the sacrum down towards the floor actively. So you'll lift your butt a little bit here. And now press the butt back down and lift the ribs in the belly and move back and forth between this little micro movement here. So you feel the imprint of the block on your back body. Now go ahead and hug those knees into your chest. And open the arms. We're going to come into a twist before we come into Shavasana. So drop both knees over to the right. Being aware of that imprint of where the block was. So notice that spot on your body. And take the legs through center, opposite side. And line completely flat on your mat. Let the feet splay away. If you want to take starfish like we did yesterday, you can go ahead and open the arms and the feet away from one another. Whatever phase of Shavasana that you like best right now. And as you move into Shavasana, the eyes close, the face softens, the heart softens, the breath moving through the body naturally. Wiggling the fingers and the toes. Bringing your awareness back into the room. Bring the soles of the feet to the floor and drop the knees toward one another. Lift the butt and then place the sacrum down on the mat actively. We'll take a couple of breaths here. Eyes open or closed, your choice. rolling to your right side now and pressing up into seated. Thank you so much for practicing yoga today. Namaste.